Hi guys, welcome back to It's on the Ledger. We've got a show for you tonight and there are loads of links as you can see at the top. So I'm going to post a link to a spreadsheet afterwards that's got every single link on it so you guys can go through it in your own time and see what else you can find. So let's start you at the very beginning with a spreadsheet. Now, some of you will probably recognise this. This is the Connect the Dots spreadsheet, and we brought this out, I think it was March, April last year, to show the connections between the white lines and the blue lines. Now, the white lines connect through the BRF2 rural line and up to Swiss custody, and the blue lines connect through to the Stellar Development Foundation. So this this spreadsheet rather, shows the connection between Indus, Swiss custody and Stella by the time date stamps as to when the domains were created, to show that they were obviously all connected because of the Indus connections between them basically. And the UT2A account is the Swiss custody main account. You'll see it highlighted here in yellow, and that's the one that I want to talk to you a bit more about today. So this is the UT2A account. It's the head of Stella, head of Swiss custody. What am I talking about? And basically, the UT2A account is here. And when you look at the account, you can see that the parent account is SCC7, and obviously if you click through that, you'll go further and further up the chain until eventually, as always, you should hit 4ACD. And here it is. If you go up far enough, you'll go back to the gatekeeper, which is 4ACD. So straight away, when people go looking for Swiss custody, they tend to find that they can't find it in the search engine, and they can't find it in Lobster either. And then when they do find it, and they hit here on the expert, they find that it's got Swiss custody scam written on it, and a yellow triangle with an exclamation mark, with a warning underneath it that says it's reported for illicit or fraudulent activity. Do not send funds to this address, and do not trust any person affiliated with it. So there's obviously some dire warning on the front of it as to why not to get involved with this account. Now, what I noticed with this, and a lot of other people have as well, is when you click on the swisscustody.org link, it doesn't open. It takes you to an error 404 page, which means that the page does not exist. So, of course, that with regards to the scam logos being put all over it, you can see quite easily how people have jumped to the wrong conclusions as to why this is a scam. And it's interesting to note that although the address here doesn't work, when you go onto the Wayback Machine and type in swisscustody.org/home HTML, back in August 2021, so 18 months ago, this was the website that actually came up. And you can see straight away that it says the Bank Depositaire Suisse, which is Swiss custody, the Bank Depositaire Suisse, which is here. If I show you on Companies House, and it's got the number SC702168. Now, what is interesting about this? Very quickly, you can see that it was dissolved. Well, in order to dissolve a company through Companies House, it first needs to be issued with a first gazette, which is this. So here's your first gazette. It says, oh, wrong page. Oh, hang on, there you go. You can see 702168 for Swiss custody, and there it is on Companies House. So the first gazette means that it's a notice for a compulsory strike-off to declare a creditor's intention to strike your company off the register of companies held at Companies House. And once a company has been struck off, it ceases to exist as a legal entity, and all trade must be stopped permanently. So these guys have received a first Gazette notice. Let's just have a quick look at the filing history. And there it is. Their first Gazette notice was the 6th of September 2022, and they received their final Gazette, which came out on the 20th of December and dissolved the company completely. And where is it? And there it is, dissolved on the 20th of December 2022. So this company now does no longer exist. It's the Bank Depositaire Suisse Limited no longer exists. Okay, now the nature of the business for it is an SIC, which is a bank. It also says it's a non-trading company, which, as we've seen above, when it's been dissolved, that's legit. Now the SIC code for banks is quite interesting. When you go on here, there's a lot of different things it could be attaining to. You've got banks, sperm banks, blood banks, transplant organ banks, loan companies, coal recovery from coal banks, interesting, and holding company activities for banks. So lots of different activities for banks all underneath this one, and they all diversify in many different ways. Now, I'm only drawn to this one purely for the fact that underneath Swiss custody, they actually created an account with the last name PORN. There you go. So the SIC code here for the sperm bank was onto this account here, PORN, and it went on to make these assets. And I won't read them out. You can probably read them for yourselves, I'm sure. But what I did find that was quite interesting on this one was this asset, considering that it's for a sperm bank, and the asset holders that are there, there's only one of them. So there's only one person that wants this particular asset, or is holding this particular asset, and the rest of it's all being held by the deposit. So if you wanted to make a deposit of this into there, then you know that's your way forward. Anyway, moving swiftly on with that, back to our UT2A account and the Swiss custody. I'm just going to skip these forward a little bit, so give myself a bit more space. There we go. When you click on the website, we already know that it takes you to the Error 404 page, and of course that the Wayback Machine tells you that it did exist. That website was really there. You know, it's just the front page there now is just disappeared. Now, when you go on to the expert and you scroll down, you can see that it gives you some TOML. Now, inside the TOML, we've also got the swisscustody.org address, but there's some extra bits at the end of it. Now, if you type or copy what it says here in the domain and paste it into Google, there we go, we get a logo. So the website does still work, just with this particular address, not with the home address. You know, and there's further proof down here as well with the gold. You can highlight this one here and copy it and paste it into here, and you'll get the logo turning up for gold. So the website swisscustody.org definitely does still work. It's just certain pages of it that don't anymore. So I thought that was quite interesting. So yeah, I just thought I'd show you that. So next thing I want to show you is the base 64. You'll like these ones, guys. So on, let's zoom back out on that one. Base 64, 6JIM. Here we go. Oh, I can't get my thingy to work, but there we go, 6JIM. You can see that one at the end of the account, that it was created by UT2A, the Swiss custody account. It was a locked account, so it cannot generate any more of this asset, and it can't sign any more transactions on behalf of this account. So the data entries, which is what I want to show you, which is super cool, is this bit down here. So I'll just do this top one to give you an idea. If you do a Control-C again to copy it, you can paste this into the base 64 decode and then hit the decode button and you get commodities, which it is. That's great. Let's do one more. The class. Copy and paste into here and decode it. Precious metals. Okay, not spelt right, but yeah, precious metals is that one there. And clearing venue. I'll do this last one and then I'll move on. Decode that. Ooh. And we get ICUS. So what is ICUS? Well, I went on to Google and typed in clearing venue ICUS, and it brings up ICE Clear US, which are clearing houses are designed to deliver stability and risk management across global markets. And if you right click it and go into the actual page, you can see a lot more information all about the clearinghouse, and there's 6 of them around the world, I believe. There they are, that can be used. So Swiss custody, or at least this account of Swiss custody, are using all of these companies to do all of their clearing of all of their accounts, basically. So I thought that was quite interesting too. Now, on the data entry side of things, there are a lot more accounts that have got these, and I'm not going to go through them all. I'll put the links in the description in the box below so that you guys can check them out. But there, just show you a few more of them that are on here. A few more here. So, oh, that was a good one, wasn't it? Because that was Agrogenesis, and the one before that was Best in Wolf. Yeah, I know you know these ones, guys. So yeah, another one up here, NFT Swiss Custody. This created an asset called Connect. This is another interesting one to look into, and with the data entries that came with it too. Now, this one here that I've highlighted is because you're going to see this a lot. This comes up quite a bit on a lot of the accounts for Swiss custody under the data entries. So there's another one here and here. So this is the one that you're looking for. And there we go. And I'll show you one more that you guys can tap into when you've got 5 minutes, because this will really blow your mind. I want to know whether these go anywhere. Do these connect to anything? You know, when you've decoded what these are, how do you get into them? How do they connect? Where do they go? What do they do? So if anybody wants to have a little go on that and drop into our research group, please do. I'd love to hear from you. So very quickly, I'm going to go back to our spreadsheet here to show you a couple more connections with the lineage side of things. So we've got our BRF2 account and our Aurora account. Now Whip has gone into much detail about the Aurora account over the course of the last 18 months or so, and made connections to it obviously with the Indian connections and them coming on board with everything that they're doing from their side for the financial system. And Aurora went on to make an account called Shah, which is obviously a very typical traditional Indian or last name, and also created the asset Crore, which is also an Indian asset, it's an Indian currency for here, all through Aurora. Now Crore has got SEP6 and SEP24. Now SEP6 and SEP24 is basically so that you can is through KYC, and it would come with either it would have a pop-up or not a pop-up that you would have to sign to authorize the transaction. So some of them you would have to authorize it, and others it will automatically use your KYC where you won't need to kind of double sign, if that makes sense, and leave the app that you're in. It will do everything inside the app on your behalf, which I think is really cool. But it's on the Crore asset, which is here, which I think it is super interesting. Purely for the fact that Swiss custody used to have it. Swiss custody used to have SEP6 and SEP24 on it. Here's the asset here that's got star. And then if I go up to star for Swiss custody, you can see it's the same address here as here. Our star asset now does not have SEP6 and SEP24 on it. They've gone. And PAMP's the same. PAMP had SEP6 and SEP24 on it. And thank you to whoever it was that did the purple squiggle so that I could save this and prove that Swiss custody accounts did have SEP6 and SEP24 on it. And they don't now. They've physically been taken down as if to hide the fact that these guys are also KYC compliant, or becoming KYC compliant to do transactions and things with. So yeah, one more thing to show you on Crore, super interesting. In the Tamil, it reads anchorusd.com. This is where their servers are connected to for the SEP24 side of things. And this is what piqued my interest with the anchorusd.com, because I was only actually looking at this the day before I found all the other things going on with Swiss custody, and it just made such an awesome connection to try to put it all together. So what I did is I went into Expert and went in to search for USD, and I got the asset USD here. Now you can see here it's connected to the stablecoin anchorusd.com, which is the one that's here. So that was the one that I was looking at. And also, if you do a search for USD, you'll also come up with, oops, I'm too far, USDC, which we'll have a look at these two assets side by side in just a second. So the USD asset, this was created in 2018. It has 45,898 trust lines on it, but only 2,710 of them are funded. Whereas on USDC, it was created in 2021. It has 371,000 trust lines on it, but only 66,000 of these are funded. So again, a huge discrepancy between these two numbers on the screen. I just thought it was really interesting, that was all. So a couple of other things to note on here. The graphs, for example. We've got the rating graph. Now on USD there's virtually no liquidity, whereas on the USD there is. And on USD there's virtually no interoperability, but on USD there is. So is this to do with the fact that USD has got SEP6 and SEP24 on it, but yet USDC does not? I thought that was really interesting. And the other thing that I thought was really interesting was these blue graphs that show the supply. So because it was made in 2018, obviously the price has volleyed somewhat up and down over the course of time. And then it hit a point here in 2021, dropped down a bit, and then hasn't created any more for its supply. It's just stayed static. Whereas when you look at the USDC, this was it July, was it June, July, May, June 2021. When you look at USDC, it had a sharp intake here in September 2021, like huge. There's like 161 USDCs here versus the 1.9 million USDCs here. Huge discrepancy in numbers, massive, you know. But anyway, as we carried on going through here, we get to a point in August last year, and suddenly all the money starts to drop out. They're burning the supply. They're sending all the USDC back to the issuer's account, you know, and it's just vanished. So I did a quick search to find out what was going on. And obviously further down on here, you can see on organisation, it's a company called Center, excuse me. And Center was a stablecoin that was founded by Circle and Coinbase, which is the USDC coin, which is here. And when I did a quick search for it through Google, what I found was this article, which says, has Circle been blocked by the SEC? Oh, that's very interesting, especially when you look at the graph as well, when it shows you that it was stopped. Very interesting. Now on the TOML further down here, there's a guy's name. Can you see? Let me just zoom in. There he is. Oh, highlight his full name. Did a quick search on Google for him as well, and this is what came back. Center, which we know Center because Center, there we go, Center Consortium. It's all over this asset. Center, this guy steps down as Chief Executive Officer and joins Circle. Well, Circle is the company that was behind Center. So he stepped down from Center and joined the parent company, or the company that was behind it, which is Circle. And Whip's obviously gone on a lot about Circle. There's loads of information in here, guys. Do check this one out as well. Now, in case you're wondering who's been sending all this USD back to the supply to burn it, let's have a quick look. There's all your integrated steps. There's a huge step there. 40 million dropped off there. I found a couple of accounts that have got it. There's this account here, guys, which is T5D4, and it's part of Stellar. It's the USDC pool that's there. They've got 40 million in their account still, which is interesting when it says that the supply is 0. But there you go, another anomaly on the ledger. I can never say that word, so there you go. But yeah, here's this account for here, and if I go into the USDC, you can see the account literally dropping off all the way down to here. To 36 million. And then the other account, which is its parent account, this is this one, SZBA, and here it is, SZBA, also had USDC. You can see here, had a nice tidy amount there, 1 million, and then dropped it back to 0 here in November last year. So yeah, some very interesting things going on there with USD and USDC, and obviously all connecting back into Swiss custody. So let's go back to Swiss custody again for a second. There's our UT2A account. There we go. We remember that one, don't we? And back over to Swiss custody again as well. So I'm going to have a quick look at the PDF that's at the bottom. This was the initial 12 pages that was first sent out for Swiss custody. And there's a load of information in here about all the people that are involved in it. We'll cover all of them in a bit. I keep going down towards the bottom, and you'll see, oh, there we go. The DBS Bank Lux, there it is. It's one that jumped out and caught my eye. Here it is. Here's your Lux account with the asset Lux. And why did this one catch my eye? Because it's got SEP6 and SEP24 on it. And its parent account is UT2A. Interesting. So there are accounts that are still under UT2A that do have the SEP6 and SEP24, not just core with the Indian connections, but other connections through here then as well. So let's go back to Miro again for a second. Where's our Lux? There's our Lux account. He's up here. Just scrolling across. So why is this Lux account so important? Well, let's have a quick look. Well, Lux account also has a data entry, and it's the same one that we were looking at a minute ago down here. So I'm going to highlight it this time, and we're going to Control C to copy it, and I'm going to paste it in our base 64 and decode it. And there we go, satoshipay.io. Now I'm sure most of you, some of you, all of you will have heard of Satoshi Pay. before. If not, have a look at the website and see what you think. There's a link down here to Pendulum, and I know most of you know about Pendulum as well. It will take you through to Pendulum Chain, and if you scroll further down, you'll get to the roadmap rather, for 2023. And I thought it was very interesting, because they mentioned the ledger, which, as you know, is a bit of a passion of mine, ledger integration, and it goes on to talk about the Stellar Bridge launch with Spacewalk. Now, we already know that Stella's doing lots of work with the bridges and Spacewalk, Space Bridge, and a load of other things that are taking place within the network leading up to Protocol 20. And we know that there's also been some bridges that have been made before. We've got the USDC chain swap here, where you can swap your USDC on Ethereum and into Stellar. And we know about the F-chain connection as well with XLM to XRP. So there's some definitive bridges that have already been made. Now there's some new ones that have come out. If you go into your Lobster wallet and click on assets and the top right hand corner to add asset, you will bring up a list of curated assets, and inside those you'll find a few new ones. And here's one of them. This is the I can't say it, bad teeth again, ASUSDC, which is bridged from Solana and into Allbridge. And another one here for you as well is the DAI, which is bridged from DAI. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing these wrong, also bridged in from Ethereum. And also Tether USDT is bridged in from Ethereum by Allbridge as well. So there seems to be a lot more of these bridges that are taking place and coming onto the network just in time for Q1 for the Stellar Bridge launch. And as it's the 26th of February now, guys, we've got about a month left for all of this to be integrated with the bridges. So this could be quite an exciting time coming up through March. Allbridge, these guys, also have a website. Definitely check this out. If I scroll down here a bit too far, you'll see the partners. There's our favourite guys, there's our Stellar, but you'll notice that there's a lot of other names in here as well that you'll probably notice. Guys, check all of these out. See what you think, and see the connections that are being made and being brought into Stellar. And again, it's all coming back in through Swiss custody. Now, I've stopped here on this lady, Lina Roth. This is under the People's tab for Swiss custody, purely for the fact that we've heard people talk about this particular person before, and obviously the connection then with regards to the Rothschilds. And there's been a lot of stuff that's come out over the past year or so about certain members of the Rothschilds family that are no longer with us anymore. This guy died here, he had a heart attack, and then this guy here, old guy, 91 years old, he's no longer with us either. So it looks like the majority of the Rothschilds, not just by these two articles, but obviously other things that have taken place, the Rothschilds are no longer the dynasty that they once were before, which I find, you know, interesting when it comes into Swiss custody. The Swiss custody here, what I want to show you is, where are we? Let's open this page and then go back and do the other page so I don't miss them. Okay, so the first one here, is it that one? Yeah, first cadet notice, there we go. You've got the number here, 702168, the Bank Depositaire Swiss Limited. This was submitted on the 6th of the 9th. This is the UK date, guys, so it's September 2022. The Registrar of Companies gives notice that, unless cause is shown to the contrary, the company will be struck off the register and dissolved not less than 2 months from the date shown above. Well, let's have a look here. This is the notification here. So the dissolution or the strike-off date was the 12th of the 12th. So September, October, November, December. Yep, perfect timing there to do that. And the dissolution date of the company was about a week or so later, on the 20th. Now, the second part of this document goes on to say that upon the company's dissolution, all property and rights vested in or held in trust for the company are deemed to be bona vacantia and will belong to the Crown. So what does bona vacantia mean? Well, let's close that one down. Bona vacantia means a vacant goods and is the name given to ownerless property which by law passes to the Crown. So if all of the Rothschilds dynasty have disappeared and have no owners to them, it means it will automatically default and go to the Crown. Which is really interesting. So where does it go after there, and then what? Well, under Scottish law, because it's slightly different to the UK, they also have an ownerless goods bona vacantia too, and it also falls to the Crown. However, this is all administered through, slightly out of date, the King's and Lords Treasury Remembrance, which is the KLTR, and you can read more about it here. oh, beg your pardon, on this one. But I just want to go back to here for just 1 second, because it's very important to note that it was the last registered office address, which was in Scotland, which makes it go to the King and Lord's Treasury Remembrance. So we can see here that the office address was done in Edinburgh. It was previously registered in Edinburgh down here, guys, but obviously with it being in Edinburgh, it now falls under the Scottish law for the KLTR, King and Lord's Treasury Remembrance. So here these guys are. In Scots law, the Crown can choose to claim ownerless property, and where KLTR claim and deal with property, its realised value is paid by the KLTR into the Scottish Consolidation Fund, which is these guys over here, and you can read up about those with the links I post. Now this one goes on to say that the KLTR launches a campaign to transfer ownerless properties to the Scottish public. Ha! Brilliant. So not to the Crown. Ambitious moves to transfer ownerless properties which have fallen to the Crown into public control to benefit communities across Scotland have been unveiled today. The King's and Lord's Treasurer's Remembrance has today launched a consultation on his proposals for the new Ownerless Property Transfer Scheme, OPTS, which you can read more about here on the kltr.gov website. So, it aims to create opportunities for ownerless land and buildings currently blighting our cities, towns and countryside to be transformed into fully functioning public assets for future generations. That sounds great, doesn't it? And under the scheme, ownerless properties can be sold for a nominal sum to key public sector partners for community use where it is in the public interest to do so. That sounds good too. So it looks like everything's being pulled into the Scottish Consolidation Fund, and now it's being talked about leaving the Crown and coming back into the hands of the people, which sounds fantastic. Now, Peter Kavanagh posted that yes, he thinks it's already happening. There's a remembrance in England and Wales and in Northern Ireland and all the members of the Commonwealth too. So it's not just us guys over in the UK, it's all the people that are over in the Commonwealth this is going to apply to as well. And he also reckons that because the USA has been under the Crown since 1776, there's going to be a remembrance there too. If you guys haven't seen War Castles yet, please watch it. It will explain a lot more about the history of what the UK Crown Rule did with America all those years ago, back in 1776. But Peter goes on to say that everyone is getting their wealth back. So because of the KLRT and the Scottish Consolidation Fund and how it all works with the Commonwealth and so on and so forth, everything's coming back out to the people. This really is being distributed back to the people, and it looks like it's all coming out through Swiss custody with all of these assets and stuff that are here. So let's skip a few of these pages and tell you a little bit more. Oh, I knew I was going to do that. Way too far. There we go. So on our Miro map here, what we've got is our Swiss custody chain, so you can see all of the assets that are here. These are all the ones that have come through, and these aren't all of the ones, by the way, guys. There are loads, hundreds of different domains, you know, hundreds of different assets that have all come out through the Swiss custody side of things. Peter seems to think that all of this has to do something to do with the Union. Now, for those of you that are not a great English history buff, I shall try and give you a little crash course on what's actually happening in the history side of things. So let's just try and run you through a couple of these. So he says the Union of the UK is an agreement wholly between England and Scotland. If it were to be broken, for example, the end of the monarchy or Scotland gaining independence, there would be no crown, because there would be no rule of an English monarchy over Scotland and or jurisdiction for the Crown within an independent Scotland. Very interesting. Now, this is where the history lesson comes in with the Acts of the Union. The Acts of the Union was an act of parliament between Scotland and England. It represented the two parliaments of the two countries, but they remained separate states, but they had the same monarch. So in our terms, it would be like Queen Elizabeth would rule over England and Scotland, but there's a Scottish Parliament and an English Parliament. So it's slightly different. It's connected by state, not connected by state, but connected only by the Crown, if you like, by the same monarch. And the words of the treaty went on to say that it was united into one kingdom by the name of Great Britain. And you can see here the two countries shared a monarch since the union of the crowns. We're going to go and look at that in just a second. Now, the next tab over tells you about the Treaty of the Union. this was basically the terms and conditions that England and Scotland had to sign in order to have the Act of the Union take place. And it also links in with the Union of the Crowns, which was this guy, James down here, James VI of Scotland. He only became King of England because Queen Elizabeth I died, and it automatically became his. Now, they were still two separate realms, and he was trying to unite them under a single realm, basically, rather than two separate realms. But it was more of a fantastical dream, if you like, by him, because despite all of his best efforts to create the new throne, England and Scotland continued as two separate states and continued to share a monarch, basically. So yeah, it never happened. Pete goes on then to say that the treasures would then be divided between the people of those nations in kind of a divorce settlement, or just sold on at face value to those that wanted it, the people's treasure, which is what we saw here, where it's all coming back for a nominal sum, like that, back to the people as the people's treasure. And again, he confirms that this would also probably split with the Commonwealth too, because the Crown presides over that. It does seem to hinge on the Scottish law being different to English law, and that is 100% true, which is why we think that the Bank Depositaire was set up in Scotland, purely because it comes under different rules and regulations, and means obviously that it would be sent off to, because of the bona vacantia, it would automatically be sent off to the KLTR, because if it was in England it would have gone off to the Treasury solicitor and been dealt with under completely different terms and conditions. So yeah, very interesting on that as well. Let's see if I can skip you forward just a few bits here. So yeah, we've got our Scottish connection here. PK then goes on to say that when Charles was sworn in as a proxy king with the Privy Council, he took an oath on Scottish law and Scottish faith. Now, the Scottish oath means that King Charles III has accepted a key role within the Church of Scotland during his Ascension Council at St James's Palace. There's James again. Can you see the connection with the James, with the union of the Crown and James? It was he was desperate to unite it all, but never succeeded. And here he is now at St James's Palace. As part of the ceremony, the monarch must recite a number of oaths, one of which requires him to promise to uphold the Protestant faith of Scotland by declaring it entirely independent. How cool is that? Now I'm going to play you a very, very short clip, as long as YouTube doesn't chuck me in an advert, and I'm not going to talk over it, and I am going to mute it because just to give the internet as best as a chance as I can. But there's some captions on the screen, so I'm only going to put about 45 seconds on, but I just want to show you this section of the proclamation ceremony. This bit. Can you see these guys and what they're wearing? This is interesting because when the Queen was laid to rest, she was draped in a flag that was very, very similar to what these guards are wearing here. Now this is super important, guys. We've mentioned about the James part of it with the connection here to the Union. Here he is, James VI again of Scotland. What happened was he travelled all the way down from Scotland upon becoming King of England as well, and he was welcomed on his path all the way down until he got down to Parliament, and Parliament weren't particularly happy, and so what he tried to do to appease them and to show that there was unity, if you like, between them, was these were the old flags that they used to symbolise Scotland and England and Ireland and so on and so forth. He tried to create new flags, and these were the start of the development. Can you recognise the flag that it was turning into? It was the Union Jack. And it's not an official flag, or rather it is the official flag, but it's never been like confirmed that it was our official flag. It just kind of got accepted as the Union flag over the course of time, and then it obviously changed slightly to have the other additional red cross in it to make it the Union Jack. There's loads more information on it here, guys. Again, read into it if you really want. But I'm just going to go back to this video and show you one last thing on it as well, to connect a bit more. There you go. Can you see? We've got 1, 2, 3 guns. 3-gun salute. 1, 2, 3 guns there. And when you do a search for 3-gun salute, it's the firing of 3 volleys over the grave of a fallen warrior. Has its origin in the old custom of halting the firing to remove the dead from the battlefield. And once the dead were removed, 3 musket volleys were fired as a signal that the battle could resume. Very interesting. Pete goes on to say that the King Charles III also seemed very angry when signing. Even the media made a note of his impatient behaviour when shoving inkwells at an aide in temper. So I'm going to mute this one as well, guys, to show you this. Just check out his face. I mean, these guys are not happy. They look thoroughly miserable. And I know the Queen's just died, and I get that, but they do not look happy, and he's well grumpy. So just watch his facial expressions on this. Yeah, he's really not a happy chappy there at all, is he? So yeah, it goes on then to say that the King Charles III ceremony will not take place until the 6th of May. So there's a period of time between September and May when technically he's not king rather, he's just a proxy king. He's not the real king until he actually takes his coronation on the 6th of May. But it's a ceremony that will reflect the monarch's role today and look towards the future. That's a very interesting statement to make, don't you think? Especially in line with the quantum financial system and everything else that's sort of taking place, that it's going to reflect the monarch's role today. What exactly is the monarch's role today? You know, and look towards the future. You know, that's a very broad, bold claim right there, and it gets me quite excited. PK then goes on to say, this also explains why our uncoronated, our not crowned King Charles III seems to be selling off a lot of the Crown's estates and laying off Crown staff. The realised value clearly needs to be paid. This has all got to go back to the KLTR guys. We can see here he's got an estimated value of 28 billion. I mean, that's ridiculous. $28 billion worth of assets. You know, he's also selling off 14 of the Queen's treasured racehorses. You know, we've seen Equitasian, haven't we, on Indus Stock Exchange. So I'm not saying that there's there's a connection there, but you know, everything is connected. So it could well be. Also, King Charles will not pay any inheritance from the Queen. You know, so he's got a $28 billion fortune, and he's not going to pay any inheritance tax on it. Now, I just want to load up the online calculator to show you 28. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 28 billion. Now, in the UK, we have to pay a 40% inheritance tax. 40%. So if he's got 28 billion there, divide that by 100, and they want 40% of it. What have I done there? 28. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Divide it by 100. You know, maths is not my strong point, guys, right? And then times that by 40. There we go. Nah, it's not worked at all. Anyway, it's a large amount of money, guys. It's over $10 billion that's not going to make its way back into the UK economy. So I thought that was quite interesting. And also, King Charles gave notification to redundancies during the staff service. Basically, there's 100 staff that got told during the service that basically they might not have their positions anymore. The posts were on the line, so to speak. And so it shows that everything is changing. He's not at Clarence House now any longer as king. He'll be expected to move into Buckingham Palace, but Buckingham Palace is undergoing major renovations at the moment. So he's giving notice to a load of his staff from Clarence House. So I thought that was very interesting as well. But PK seems to think that it's a two-edged sword. We either end the monarchy or end the union. But either way, we get the same result. It ends the crown. You know, and I agree. He says it's a feeling it's already happened, but now we are starting to see and understand the evidence of it. And I agree completely. When you look at what's been happening over the blockchain over the last 18 months or so at least, you can see how everything is all coming into Stellar, and how everything is being changed up and sort of moved through. So back to our Swiss custody again, kind of where it all started. And you can see on our account here of how all the assets that have been put out end up connecting back into UT2A through all of the Swiss custody lines that come through. Now on our spreadsheet down here, it isn't just the Swiss custody accounts that use UT2A. You know, the Go DLS account, that also uses UT2A as well. Now all of these assets that are down here, you can go into a stock exchange and type them in, and it will give you the name of the company that you're buying the asset for on Stellar. And there's loads. UT2A, Corporate Stellar Bonds, UT2A, Lux Bank, which we covered with Satoshi Pay, StellarRealEstate.org. There's an interesting one, Brookfield, make a note of that. We may see that one again in a bit. StellarHedgeFunds.com, there's another one there. StellarFunds.org, UT2A, Stellar Commodities. This one actually changes over onto BFR2, and I'm going to come onto that one in just a moment. But it certainly seems to me that there seems to be a lot of companies that are moving on into Stellar underneath the Swiss custody tree, if you like. All of these assets and commodities, like I said, I've only put some of them on here. There's loads more, guys, to fill this map out of all the ones that come in under Swiss custody. So that's basically on an open source level, if you like, what we've found so far. Everything we've shown you has either come through from a Google search, or it's because we've created it on a map from the ledger, so you can actually see for yourselves what's going on. Now, it wouldn't be an IOTL video if we didn't have a few what ifs. So I'm going to show you guys a few what ifs, and I want to see what you guys make of it. So here's the what ifs. This account here, our UT2A account. What if it isn't actually UT2A, but it's actually an acronym for something else? And rather than it being UT2A, the clue is actually at the beginning with the AA, and it could actually be UTAA. So I typed into Google UTAA, and here's what we got back. The UTA Acquisition Corps. What do you make of that? Good, isn't it? And then from the UT2A account, if we go up one to SCC7, here's our account here for SCC7, I then went into Google and typed SCC7, and here's what we got. It's a coding thing for SAP, and SAP is a world-leading producer of software for the management of business processes, developing solutions that facilitate effective data processing and information flow across organisations. Very interesting that they've used the SCC7 because it's to export clients. So if you've got a huge amount of information that or client list, for example, that you want to export somewhere else, you would use the code of the SCC7 through SAP to be able to do that. Very, very interesting. So we've got our SAP with our exportation of clients coming into our UTA acquisitions company, who has then gone on to make all of these assets and commodities and all of the rest of it almost as if they've been acquired or merged or taken over in some respect, don't you think? So let me just go back to 100%. There we go. For SCC7. So yeah, when you go up from SCC7, you get the parent here, which is BGIT, and BGIT on the stock market, oh, where is it? There we go, is the Brookfield Global Infrastructure Fund, and we've just seen Brookfield back through on our spreadsheet wherever he was here with Stellar Funds. Was it Stellar Funds? Probably going too far, but yeah, he was down there. We looked at him a minute ago with the Brookfield assets. So yeah, Brookfield's back up here, and these guys, another interesting company. They are invested in long life, high quality assets and businesses around the world that form the backbone of the global economy. So very, very interesting connection here with the Brookfield group, then exporting their data clients into the acquisition company that's then gone on to make all of these through the Swiss custody range. I just find it absolutely fascinating, and wanted to show you guys some what ifs. What if the BGIT is Brookfield? You know, what if SC77 is the SAP code that comes with it? You know, what if UTAA is actually this UTA Acquisition Corp? I mean, it would just make so much more sense, don't you think, that it's all coming into Swiss custody? Well, it doesn't stop there, does it? Because obviously once you've been onto BGIT, you hit the parent here and you go to L3VC, which is an account that we've stumbled across once or twice before on our IOTL presentations. Now, these guys like coding, right? They like to drop hints and things within codes, and I'd like to think it's for us to decipher. And what struck me with the L3VC straight away was Roman numerals. If I show you the Roman numerals here, we've got L, we've got 3 of them, L3, 50, 50, 50, that's 150. We've got V, 5, and we've got C for 100. So 150, 155, 255. Well, that number strikes a bell with me because the number on the colour palette for 255 is a light colour, and the colour name for it is white. There we go. So what if the L3VC account was a white hat posing as a black hat? Where did I get that analogy from? Well, you have to start at the top here with the gatekeeper, 4ACD. He went on to make the Udo account, but not until 2017. All of the accounts, if I gently zoom out, she says, let's do this down here, the accounts that trickle off down to the right hand side were nearly all made before 2007 via exchanges. It's only been recently that some of these have kind of come back to life. Is it going to let me go any further? There we go. And you can see basically all these black boxes that I've put along here. These were all exchanges or wallets, storage wallets, that have been drained into Z6FH. And it's almost as if there was a division in Stellar where somebody around here turned around and said that they were not happy with the direction that Stellar was going in over here, and put a block in and created the Gudu account, or the Udo account, which then went on to create L3VC, which I still think is a massive honey trap to catch all of the nefarious players doing their shady stuff through the network, but under a controlled account, which is the L3VC via Udo. L3VC also went on to make another account, which I think was one of the most prolific naughty bunnies, so to speak, in Stellar. If I can zoom in, if it will let me. Nearly there. She says, it's this account here I'm trying to get to. It's HUHY, and the HUHY account went on to make the 4W37 account. And it was this account, 4W37, that then went and made all of the other accounts for the exchanges over to the left-hand side. See if it let me scooch across. All of these. All drained. Drained. Gone. Now, what's really, really interesting about all of these accounts being drained, not only did they go into Z6FH, which was like a spur, if you like, of Binance, after all of this mop-up operation had taken place within Stellar, but the account for the Z6FH, hang on a second, I can't get this to stop. There we go. They're going to do it. Just try and get this to refresh. I don't know if you can hear my computer's whirring away in the background. It's not a happy bunny. But basically, the dates that all of these were drained out of was the 20th of January 2022. Hopefully it's going to let me zoom in just a little bit more, start to show you a bit of clarity. So there you go, you can see all of the accounts here were drained into Z6FH back in 2021 on January the 1st. Which I found super interesting, because when you come back and have a look at the assets that were made for Indus, there you go, there's your L3VC with them all connecting back. The oldest one that was created, other than there was like a chunk that was made back in November 2021, and then there was probably about 7 or 8, 9 assets that were made under the Indus exchange domain, and then it ceased until January, and then it sprung back into life with the us.indus exchange account, which is this one here. There's your us.indus.exchange account and all of the assets that came in underneath it. Now, what's super interesting here is the fact that it was created on the 9th of January. It then made loads of different assets, one of each, on the 16th, all at the same time, so it was obviously done in laboratory, and then they stopped. And it was almost like they had to wait until all of these accounts had been drained out, and there was no more of this money going to be going out of the system through any other ways with Binance other than out through Z6FH or in through Z6FH. So they had a complete control over this half of the network in comparison to the half of the network that was created prior to 2017. So I thought that was really, really interesting too. So yeah, that's this one here for the us.indus.exchange. Then all of these other assets that were created afterwards all came out after the 20th of January. So there was a distinct reason why nothing happened with the Indus accounts until after everything ended up back in Z6FH. So anyway, another little squirrel for you. Let's get back over. We were looking at the what ifs, weren't we? The L3VC and being the white hat in disguise, coming in to save the Stellar network from all of its woes and adversities. Now, the account that made the L3VC account was, where are we here? L3VC was Udo, and here he is. Here's the Udo account. Now, this was actually made on the 3rd of June 2017, and I want you guys to remember this date because this is a very important date to note as well. The Udo account was made here as the parent, and I typed Udo into Google, and this is what I got back. There's a company called Gudu Limited. There you go. They're based in Birmingham, so they're a UK company, and they do other services, not activities that are not elsewhere classified. Now, there's a ton of documents that they've put out. The first one that they issued was 23 pages, and it's basically just about the terms and conditions of them upholding what they're going to do as a company, but doesn't really give you any information about the actual company itself. What is interesting though is on the first Gazette notice, they are also tied in to the Bona Vacantia, there it is, and accordingly will belong to the Crown. Excuse me. So I thought that was quite interesting. The other thing to note on here as well is the people. There's only one guy on it. There he is. There was no company secretary. Now, normally when you have a registered limited company, you need one director and one company secretary for the business to generate, whereas this only had this guy. So I got interested and I clicked on this guy's name, and it came up with this guy. Here he is. He had 2 appointments. Very interesting. Well, the first one we know is Udo, the Gudu Limited, on here, and the second one, which I found super interesting, was the Shakespeare and Company Limited, also dissolved financial company on here. It tells you here that he's a financial consultant, which I find very interesting, that he has an account, or he's part of Gudu as a director, whereas on here in his previous role he was a financial consultant. So some potentially interesting, nice what-if connections just there. Now, on his LinkedIn profile, you can see here he is. He's in Birmingham, and here's his company. Or here was his company. And I really like the heading that he's got here as well. Speak with honesty, think with sincerity, and act with integrity. That really resonates with me, so I like this guy. Whether or not he's connected or not, I don't know. But I did find it very, very interesting that there was a Gudu Limited when we've got a Gudu account here on Stellar. So yeah, when you go back onto here, the other really thing that got me was the dissolution date on the 3rd of November 2015. And why is that important? Oh, this is good. Well, Gudu was created by 4ACD. Here it is. And 4ACD was created on the 2nd of the 11th 2015. So 4ACD was created a day before the Gudu Limited company was dissolved. Don't you find that really fascinating? I know I do. So anyway, here's your 4ACD account, but the gatekeeper, if you like, on that one. Got a couple more things to show you on here. So the lineage, where are we? Oh yes, here we go. So we've now got our gatekeeper account that made our financial, potentially company here for Gudu, that went on to make our white hat account, who then made Bookfield, the exportation of all of the client details into UT2A, and this is where it starts to get even more interesting, because from the UT2A account, if you remember, it also went on to make BRF2. So I'm just going to scooch across a couple of pages here to show you this. So here's your UT2A account again. Here's BRF2 connected up to Aurora. BRF2 connected to Aurora, which connects you back up to UT2A. So our BRF2 account, here's another what if for you. We typed BRF2 into Google and we didn't get any results come back. But I'll tell you what we did find that was quite interesting. That BRF is actually an acronym for the Belt and Road Forum. Interesting. And it was first event was held on the 14th and 15th of May 2017, which is super interesting because our account here for Gudu was created about a week and a half to 2 weeks later. Here he is on the 3rd of June 2017, straight after the Belt and Road Forum in Beijing. Now, this was described as a more open and efficient international cooperation platform, a closer, stronger partnership network, and to push for a more just, reasonable and balanced international governance system. It has areas of infrastructure, energy and resources, production capacity, trade and investment, and identification of major projects. Its financial cooperation mechanism, which was a platform for science, technology, environmental protection, and enhanced exchanges and training of talent and financing agreements for backing projects. Well, that's pretty cool, don't you think? What is even more interesting, because it's BRF2, was 2 years later they had the second Belt and Road Forum, BRF2. Is that a connection? It's a big what if, isn't it? And there you go. So yeah, we like the idea that this is the Belt and Road Forum and BRF2, bringing everything into Stellar with all the commodities and the assets from all over the different places in a very strategic and very logical way into Stellar. Now, when we go back onto our spreadsheet, we already know that the first lot that came out was the Indus Exchange, and we've been questioning whether the Belt and Forum number 1 was relevant to these assets that came out in Indus, and then the Belt and Forum 2 that came out was relevant to the Stellar Dex IO assets that came out. Because if you look at them, they're identical. The only thing that's different is the domain. You can have Africa, agricultural, AI, Australia. They're all exactly the same as they are on the Indus. It's just the end of it that's changed for it. And I'll tell you what else is fascinating is our BRF2 account has churned out a third set of these assets under lobsterassets.com. Exactly the same way it would work before, au.lobsterassets.com or blockchain.lobsterassets.com, a third version. So we are wondering now whether there's going to be a third Belt and Road Forum to tie all of this in together. Now, when you go on to the lobsterassets.com, you probably won't be too surprised to note that when you click on the web page, we get a landing page with a 404. It doesn't exist. They're ready to go, but there's nothing actually happening on it. Now, this is where it gets real interesting. When you type in our well-known Stellar TOML, it will bring you up the Stellar TOML for all of these lobsterasset.com assets. I can't show you on here because I doesn't bring my TOML up on the computer, on the Google. It brings it up on Kate. So I've taken a screenshot of Kate to show you, and this is what she looks like. Although the website doesn't exist when you type it in, inside the TOML we've got lobsterassets.com images /love.png, and when you type that in, you get the image. So it's exactly the same as Swiss Custody, where a domain isn't working, but other pages within the domain are working to prove that these are legit websites and they are coming on board. You know, so guys, you really need to have a super good dig on all of this, and you know, connect more than just what you see on the surface level. when you start looking back now through what we've shown you tonight with regards to the Rothschilds dying and potentially having no heirs and it being moved into the consolidated fund and coming back to the people, and also the other side of it, potentially with the unions being collapsed as well, so that everything goes back to being some sort of independence. We've got the SEP6s and the SEP24s, which all seem to be taking on roles behind the scenes, so to speak. There's just loads of things that are happening here, guys, that are connecting the dots, and it starts to make me wonder whether the reason that we've got all of these scams and everything on it is purely so that it puts people off from purchasing it straight away, and without doing any of this research they're going to think that it is a scam and not buy in, when really underneath your nose there's the Binance account with the Goodyear account above it, if I can get my reconnection, was actually the start of a whole new system being built inside Stellar. Right underneath our noses, guys. I mean, a lot of us weren't here in 2007, you know, but this has been going on some time to clear all of the bad stuff out of Stellar that shouldn't be here, in order to pave the way for something amazing that we're all into, you know. The whole new system of Stellar with the quantum financial system, so it is completely transparent and it is completely safe, and it can be regulated to make sure that a lot of the things, or all of the things that have happened before in the past, never ever get the opportunity to happen again. You know, this is the buck stops here, guys, and this is everything that we've seen flowing into Stellar, into a brand new quantum financial system, and this is the proof that we've found and I wanted to show you guys so far, and obviously a few of the what ifs, of course, at the top with regards to the acronyms of UT2A, SC77, BGIT, and a whole load of other things that come with it, BFR2 as well. So yeah, we just wanted to show you what we found, guys. This map that I've got here, I'm going to show you that in about a month's time. I've got a load more stuff that I'm working on, and I think you'll be quite interested to see what else I've pulled up on that as well. So guys, I just wanted to say thank you so much. Thank you for watching L3VC, or as I think it is, go from dark to light in our network, and allowing me the opportunity to present to you this evening everything that we've found so far to do with Swiss custody and Indus, and how it's all being pulled into Stellar. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, and you like what we do, please add this trust line. It means the world to us to just show your support. Thank you ever so much. And if there's topics in here that you like the look of and you want to dive in a bit deeper and get talking to us, please do. We've got our own website, or not website, sorry, but group on Telegram. It's called It's on the Ledger. Make sure that this is definitely us, that you're jumping on board with. You'll find loads of tutorials and stuff in the pinned posts to help you get started, and there's a research group there as well, guys, if you want to talk about anything in any more detail. So thank you so much indeed for joining us. Hope you've enjoyed this evening. Have a stellar day wherever your atoms are, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.